let's solve the assignment I gave you, and then we'll move on to the next thing. The challenge is always, where do you start your coding from? What's the approach? What do you do? We have this button which we've created. When we click it, nothing happens. It's when we click on this button here, the code should check if this button is clicked. If this button is clicked, it should use replaceAll JavaScript function or string method of replaceAll to do this. So we're going to the place where there's an on-click for this button. So let's look at the button. This is it here, find and replace. So it's calling a function called find and replace, which we created. Let's go and look for it. Here, find and replace. So what do we want to do? When you click on it, we want to check if a particular checkbox is clicked. That's what we want to check. So how do we do that? I'll use this opportunity to formally show you if condition. That's if statements, because we've used if statements before now, and then I just assume that you understand it. So let's use this opportunity to show you what if statement is all about. Now, if statement is a conditional statement, and what you do in programming, apart from moving data around, is also checking those data. Because if you have a data, you want to check against something else, to see if it meets what you want or it doesn't. If it doesn't, do something else. So I'm going to introduce the very minimal part of the controls statement. We call it control statement because it controls the flow of your program. I'm going to write this one out and call conditional statement. Okay, let's see the syntax. So syntax is the way you write your code. So the syntax is written like this: if, and you have a bracket that contains the condition. This is the condition. Then you now have a bracket that contains a block of code where you want a decision to happen if a condition is met. Now you can stop here if you really just want only that condition. But what if that condition was not met? You want to do something else. Then it provides you to do an else statement. Again, I'm stopping at a very small version of the if condition. So what we want to check, remember the interface. We want to check if this one is checked here. So you need to be able to know the attributes required to specify if something is checked or not. So what's that attribute? Let's go to now this brings you back to HTML. Is it here? So there's one attribute called checked. And when you provide that attribute checked, what that means is that by default, it's checked, or it checks the checkbox. So meaning if you always provide that attribute, it will be checked. Let's say we don't provide the attribute, and this is just normal HTML. I'm not doing anything special. If you do not provide that attribute, it's not checked. So by default, we don't want it checked. So it means we can call an attribute called checked to see the value that it has. So let's write a console code to do that without even going to the JavaScript code. So these are our console. We should be used to this console now. Must be careful when you are dealing with programming language. When you're writing any code, if you get any spelling wrong, you can just be there for hours and you will not know what's going on. So by default, you can see that it's saying true. When we clicked it, it said true. So let's uncheck it and see and run the code again. It says false. So you can see this line of code now is what we are going to use. This is a way for you to get the checked attribute using JavaScript. Documents, you already know document.getElements. You already know what that does. You already know how to get any element on a page. You already know how to get it. Now we want to get the checked value. That's the idea of what we want to do. Once we click on replace, we want to see if it's checked. If it's checked, do something. If it's not checked, do something otherwise. So we know how to get the checked by specifying document.getElements, the ID, then passing the attribute checked. So let's go to the code. The reason why I did that first is so that I can get that value, without our error popping up and debugging later in the program. So here I have if document.getElement dot checked, I can say is equal to true. This is what I've done there. I've provided a condition. Now, when you are writing a conditional statement, you have I will just express two stuffs, which later I will expatiate more. This you have ways to check values. You can use double sign for equal to, meaning the value on the left hand side is equal to the value on the right hand side. Then you can say not equal to is providing shift and 1, that's like a exclamation mark, and equal sign. This means not equal to. So this is the only one I will explain for now. Not equal to, right? So right now we are just using equal to. So what this line says, line 103 says, if the document replace.checked is equal to true, what should happen? It means write a code that will replace all. Else, just replace only one item. The code to replace only one item is already on the bottom here, because that's what the function does by default. So I put it here that if it's not checked, replace only one item. If it's checked, I need to replace all. How do I replace all? I write the code for replacing all. I just say the same thing here. I repeat the same thing. But in this case, I use replace all instead of replace. So let me write the member function for that. It's the same argument, what you are finding and what you are replacing. So, but in this case, it will do it for all of them. It will not just do it one by one. And then I want to change an instance of I to go. And if I replace, okay, we're back to our error handling issue. Now it's giving us an error, but let's solve that error together. Okay, first of all, it's saying result is not defined. So we used result somewhere. So let's go and check in our code. It says results not defined. Okay, so what that means is that the code did not get through this place. So let's put our results outside. I will explain the code later. So results is equal to, this is like initializing the results. Like it should first be blank, then before doing this. Let's give it a try again. And let's watch out for our code here, our error code. So if I do replace, so you can see that the first item is being replaced. The first item is being replaced. So if I try for the second one is being replaced. So now for the most important part, let's click replace all and see what happens. So if I click replace, everything gets replaced. So our code worked perfectly. Let's try it again. So let's change go now to I. Notice that our replace all is still checked. So if we do that, it changes everything back. So that is the solution to the assignment. So let me explain why the error happened in the first place. Now, this part of the code, even though the error was not supposed to occur, but it might be a way for it so that you won't have bug in the future. Now, we did not declare. If you notice, if I remove this result here, if the code does not enter any of this, which is impossible, it doesn't know what result is, because this result is being declared inside a conditional statement. What if the conditional statement does not occur? That's why I'm saying it doesn't know the result. That's why I declare my result outside first, saying result should be blank, in case. Let result be blank in case. Then start checking. If the document is checked, then true. Now I can further make this simpler to read or easier to manage by defining this outside. So see what I want to do now. I want to replace this one with a But yeah, I can replace it just like the way I did these variables. I can then say, let's replace or equal to this. So I will say replace all. Then I can now come and say if replace all is equal to true. So that way it's easier to read this way. Okay, so if we refresh, we should have the same effect. So if we find I and Geo, we should be able to replace all. Okay, do you guys have any question?
Not from my end.
Okay.
When we ran, I wanted to say that when we go after running the code and we got it wasn't working. I wanted to say that we are meant to declare results to be first. By I want to say.
Okay. Yeah, that's a good one. At least you're learning stuff. That's good. That's good. Okay. Let's move on. Let's move on to the next thing. Okay. Let's see what we have here next in part of the things we are learning. So I think we'll push most of these things. I will explain what they do, and then we'll leave it to you to go and do, because the idea is not for me to do everything for you. It's to show you how to use them. One of the things that slice does, I think I was missing it with another function. I think I was missing it with split, if I'm not mistaken. Let me see. Okay, I was missing it for split. So split is what I was missing it for. Let's run split so that you can use that. Then we'll explain slice. Split. Okay, so split turns it to an array. So here you can decide what you are using to split. Have text string and you want to manipulate the string. It depends on how much you want to manipulate, or depend on the problem you are given. So right now I'm manipulating it I'm getting each of the words. Hello is entering inside an array. Look at the array on the bottom. You can see hello is separated from the word, and you can do something like this and manipulate it for each character. You can see each character is put in an array. So this array of 11. So again, we've not talked about array. So I'm going to leave this until we get into array. I don't want to mix up the topic together. So I'm going to leave the split. Once we work on the array, you will get to understand, what is happening here. Even though now you are seeing that the hello is inside quotes, but the jacket that starts from the first, the angular bracket that you have here, is an array. To show you that everything there is an array. Okay, it's very important. Very, very important. You will use trim a lot in collecting user information. I don't know if you've noticed, sometimes you use the system and then you put a space before typing the information you're supposed to type. It might be an error. Maybe you copy a code from somewhere. Maybe if you put something like this, and notice that there's a space in the front. This can actually affect where you're submitting to. Sometimes you might want to clear the space programmatically, because you can't trust what the user is submitting. So how do you clear those things? Is by using trim. That's the function of a trim. That's what trim is all about. Trim make sure that there's no excess space at the front and no excess space at the end. So let's play with that in the console. So if I bring up the console and let's put, you can see the space here now. I've put excess space here and I've put excess space here. And just to show you that it's working, let's run split. Okay, so if you see, we run split on it now. Notice it catches all the space, excess space you have starting from the front. And so once you run trim on it, see what it says if you run trim on it. So trim does not require any parameter, I guess. So once you run trim on it, see what it returns. It returns SS space, remove SS space from the left, SS space from the right. And I've told you where you can use this when you require user input, and then you are expected not to have put space in the front or SS space at the back. When you require someone's email address and they're starting typing by space, or they copy the information somewhere and paste, this can cause this kind of error, to occur. Okay, let's move on to the next thing, and then we can. So all these other ones too, they work. This one, if you want to remove the trim that starts it, you don't want to focus on the on both ends. You want to focus on the one that starts. You want to focus on the one that ends. Array. Let's do array. So let's go to the array definition that we have here. So we have this one. We've introduced this before, and what this is all about is telling you that you can have a variable that holds so many types. It can literally hold different forms of types. Yeah, it can hold different types of types. Array. So array can hold itself. Array can hold anything. So it's like, I'm looking for a real life example to use. It's like saying a box in a box. So a box, you can, in a box, when you have a box, right? You can put phone in a box. You can put shoes in a box. You can put another box in a box. That's what it's looking like now. So here, when you have, let's say we have a box. So you can put a shoe in a box. You can put a phone in a box. You can put what else in a box? A box in a box. How do you define an array? Like this. Don't get confused though. This is a box, which is an array that allows you to put a shoe in it. The shoe is a string. Allows you to put a phone in it. The phone is a string. Allows you to put array in it as well. So array is very powerful, and you'll be seeing where we can go with it in the future. So let's start playing with array. Again, we're going to use the console section to talk about what we have in an array, the way array looks like, and it's very important you take note of the structure, the way it's being structured. Notice that sign that you have there. See it a lot. Program your mind on it, because we have several brackets that you'll be seeing across board. You'll be seeing these brackets, this programming, so you should be used to this kind of bracket. You will see these two guys. So yeah, I'm sure you are very used to this angle bracket. This HTML style of brackets, very used to it. And this one is for array. This one is for function, right? This is for function, while this is for block of code. Be very observant with these brackets, so you are going to be seeing them a lot. So we are going to be using all of them in JavaScript. We are still getting there. So first of all, we're in this bracket. So let's go to the code section to see how an array will look like. Again, you've been seeing the array everywhere now, and to declare them, let me clear this screen so that we can able to declare one and see how it looks like. Putting that parenthesis alone, right, turns it to an array. And I've said you can decide to put anything in your array, be it number, be it array itself, and you can depend on how complex your object is or the data you're trying to manipulate. You can have that information, and at the end you have these very nice visual effects, and what this does is trying to tell you that, to show you the way the array is structured. So let me put something simple. Let me not go too fast. So let me start with box or colors. Let me start with colors. Let me say let colors equal to red, green, and again we are going to do real life example for this, so that we'll not just be doing programming that doesn't have sense. Okay, so we have this, and I can do colors. So I say let colors equal to this, and then I output color. So what I want to show you is the structure of an array, and it's very important that you understand the structure of an array. Look closely, please. Notice that when you define an array, it has the bracket that we talked about, and then the term depending on what it is you are housing. In this case, we have strings. You call it strings of array. You can have numbers of an array. You can have any type of an array, and you can have a complex form of an array. So the part I want to put your attention to is the numbers on the left-hand side. The numbers on the left-hand side has to do with the position of the item in the array. So blue is in position what? Is in position 2. So this is where the complexity comes into play. But once you just know it's +1, -1, I think you just need to forget about it. So array starts from 0, but the count is how many? 3. Look at it very well. If red, green, and blue, how many are they? They are 3. That's why it's saying length is 3. However, the count starts from where? Starts from 0. The count starts from 0. So very important for you to know. Array counting starts from 0. So the last one is 2, but the total count of the element inside or the item inside is 3. So this, I think we should not have any problem with this. Just cram it like that. And it's not in all programming language. Some programming language start from 1, and it makes sense. But most programming language start from 0. Most programming language start from 0. So we have 0, 1, 2. The length is the number. So we can quickly run another example. So let me now have it complex now. Let me do complex stuff now. So I want to pass another array. Inside that array, I want to now say, so let's print this now. Okay. I've already used colors before, so let's use something else. Okay, so let's run this now. Look at what this is saying. Very important. Look this very well. How many items do you have in this array? We have 1, we have 1, we have 2, we have 3, we have 4. But the fourth one is also an array. That you then have 1, 2, 3. So don't let it confuse you. This is array in an array. I just want to show you this diagram. So not that we're going to be using array in an array anytime soon. I just want to show you how complex it can be. So you can increase the data here. So then let's go to the programming. How can you manipulate array? Do you have any question in this array? Do you have any question? Do you understand this array, or you have any question? Remember member functions. These member functions that we talked about. This is for strings, right? There's something like that too for array. Again, you just need to know them. You don't need to cram anything. Once you know what they are, by the time you are faced with a challenge, then you know how to implement them. So I'll just remove the ones we will not be using, from beginning. I'll just be removing things you will not need. I'll just remove things you will not need. You will need this very well. You will need this. You will need this. Let me remove this. Map pop. Yeah, you need pops. Prototype, push, reduce. I'm going to explain them because sometimes they're even self-explanatory. Splice to string, shift value of. Okay, so we have this. This is what we're going to be talking about. So I removed some stuff which are not really. We can't use them in this class. So again, I say we're going to work with examples, real life example. By the time we go through this now, we're going to build an interface for array, where we will have what's it called, a to-do list. We'll do a to-do list app. I don't know if it's I don't think we'll be able to do it in this class, but that will be the next class. We'll do a to-do list app using everything we've learned to work on that. So let me quickly go on this and explain. And all of these can actually be implemented as a member function. Remember, member function. What that means is that you can do array dot, any of these things. You can do array dot and it will give you, something. Just the way we were able to do, remember, the string dot length. You can also do array dot length, to actually give you the number of item in that array, because an array can come. You might not be the one that sets the array, and that's another thing you need to know. Let's say, for example, now let me just give you an idea of what can happen, for you to do. Let's say you want to run some things here now. Food, something, right? You want to turn this to an array. You already know how to do that using a string, and then they are inside an array now. You want to loop through all of them, or you want to do something on it. So what this one does is that it allows you to go through every element. So if you have an array as an object, you can perform all these things on them. Note that this is a string. To turn it to an array, you call the function to turn it to an array. Once you turn it to an array, you can then perform all these things on them. So we'll just do one or two things on them before we will now do the real app, which won't be in this class. But let me just run one or two things on it. So this is a way to show you how to actually test some things out yourself. But building an app is a way for you to easily see how it works. Okay, let's call one or two things here. So let's go to this. Of course, you know how to define an array now. Once you just do, to define an array, use your brackets. To define a string, you use quotes. To define a number, you just type in the number. Okay, so let's do that. And then let's do rice and beans. And then to find the length, you just say dot length. You might need the length for a reason. Maybe you want to check the number of options that the user submitted. How many food items they say they want. If you just run dot length, you get that information there. So that's using dot length. So if there are other things you can run there, which again are advanced. Pop is a way for you to remove the last element. So once you run pop, it's going to remove the last element. There's also sort that we saw sort there. So let me put other things. B comes before R. Let me say zinc. Then if we do sort, so you can see that it has sorted it for us, right? So you might have noticed in some places where you allow user to, maybe you capture some things and then the system sorts it for you. This can be an example. And this, you can easily see how we can implement this. Maybe for example, now you ask someone to enter something here, and then there's a button that says sort. Once you click on sort, the system sorts it for you. Or you enter alphabets anyhow, right? And then you come to somewhere in the system and then you say rearrange or sort or something, and then it does its thing and arrange it. So the limit is you're limited to how you can think, right? So if you can think of any solution, any problem you can think of, there's always a solution for it. So these things, knowing these functions, allow you to be able to provide solution to endless problem. So we just talked about sort, right? There's splice, just like in string, but this time around you can pick which of the string you want to look at. There is this one is to check if it's an array or not. Then you can join array together. You can push to add new item to an array. So let's just play with the push. But the push seems interesting. So let's say you have, again, as I said, we are going to run a normal app on this. So let's say you have rice. Let's do it a variable now. let's say let to do is equal to, so it's equal to an array. Our to do is an empty array. So anytime you run your to do, what do you have? You have an empty array. Very important. Run your to do again, you have your empty array. To add something to your to do, you will do to do dot what's that function again? Push. So let me see. To do, let me see that. It's supposed to allow you to add new item into it. So let me see. That's what I did. Okay, again, I have my typo issue. So I did, so to do, right? I'll say go to school. So you can see that we have one item already added. So if I print my to do, like what do I have inside my to do now? I have go to school. So let me add another item now. I say go to work. We'll do this full app, you know a to do app now where you have, we can already do a lot of things now. We have a button, we have a way for you to add stuffs, but now we put it inside an array so that it will be adding it. Then once you want to delete it, you click on delete, it will go off. So we use that pop to delete what we don't want. So this is just literally writing the code plain without the interface. So to add go to work, we'll put it there. Then go to work, go to, let me say eat, and then let me say go to markets. Oh, cool. Then if you want to print out what you have, you just say to do. It shows you those 4 things you've added. Go to school. So if you want to remove the last one, of course you use pop will remove the last one. You can remove a specific one. Yeah, very important. You can remove a specific one, or you can get to a specific one. How do you get to a specific one? Very important. To get to a specific one, you put this bracket and you specify in number which one you want. If you put 0, I told you the items start from 0. If you put 1, it goes to the next one. 2, it goes to the next one. 3, so this is a way for you to jump into the item that you have one by one. Then how do you check through all the item? That's illustration. So that will be in the next class. I don't want to combine so many things together in this class. So overview of what we've gone through. We've been able to use replace. That's the replace all, and we've been able to see how we can do a conditional statement, which is big. If you've seen conditional statements, pretty simple. If you have your conditional section, the block of code that should happen, else the block of code that should happen. That's cool. We've also introduced array, and importantly is the sign of array, which is this denotes array. Anywhere, in fact, I think all programming languages, you have this denotes array, and then you can have an array in array. Array is so powerful, So that said, another point that you need to know is you can access the item in an array by specifying the number, the position where they occur. We were also able to see the member type of an array. I don't want us to rush all the member types. So you also saw the member type of an array. I would like you guys to check on this in the against our next class. Go through the array and prepare for our to-do app. I will make that to-do app your assignment. Yes, I will make the to-do app your assignment. Very easy to-do app. Let me tell you how it's going to look like. It's very easy. So let me try and paint a picture. I don't know if I can draw on this screen. I don't think I can draw. But let me just paint a picture of how the app will look like. Very simple. Number one, you have one text box. And that text box should be what do you want to do today or something. So instead of string manipulation, say what do you want to do today, and then the text box should allow you to enter what you want to do, right? Then there will be a button that will say add to do. So as you keep adding to do, it should be adding somewhere on the bottom, and as you keep adding, it should be incrementing. So there should be a 1 automatic increment, 1, 2, 3, 4. Of course, you know how to do your auto increment. If you use LI, UL, ordered list, OL, and LI, automatically you'll be adding into it. So you should be able to add that one, and yeah, you can just do that one. Don't let me make it too much complex. Then when I come, I'll look at it. If you can't do it, or if you anywhere you hang, I'll pick it up there. Our next lesson will be how to do a to-do mini app using Bootstrap, HTML, and CSS, and what have you. Any question, guys? I think we are done for today. Yeah, Steven, you want to say something?
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Thank you for staying to the end. I hope you enjoyed this video. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe, and turn on bell notification in order to be notified when we release new videos. See you in the next one.